Welcome to Cheat Sheet Tales, where secrets slip, lies unravel, and the truth always has a twist. Real stories, raw confessions, shocking betrayals. Drop a comment if you've ever caught a red flag too late. Now, let's get into today's tale. They say the worst betrayals comes from those who shake your hand while digging your grave. The morning Ethan fired me, he smiled like he was doing me a favor, like stripping me of my career, my dignity, and my sanity was some sort of cleansing ritual. And for a moment, I actually believed him. That's the scary part. You don't notice the slow erosion of your spirit when the abuse comes dressed in praise. They never tell you that power doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers. At first, working at Nexura felt like stepping into the future. Glass walls, standing desks, espresso machines that knew your name, or at least your caffeine pattern. I was hired as Senior Strategy Manager, a fancy title that mostly meant fix what's broken and don't ask too many questions. And for a while, I was damn good at it. Damon Cross was the kind of man who could sell fire to the sun. Every woman in the office either feared him, wanted him, or both. And every man wanted to be him. I just wanted to do my job. That made me the anomaly. In the first few months, he praised me relentlessly. Nina, you're not like the others. You think 10 steps ahead? I should have heard the warning in that. It wasn't admiration. It was surveillance, but I was too eager to please, too naive, too hopeful. We all want to believe we earned our seat. Not that we were being groomed to be tested, broken, or used. The shift was subtle. First came the late meetings, just him and me, then the personal compliments. That dress is lethal, Nina. Laughed it off. Then he started brushing past me too closely, hovering when I worked. Sending texts at 11 p.m., under the guise of urgent strategy alignment. I told myself I was imagining it. I wasn't. The final straw was the retreat. A weekend getaway for the executive team at a swanky lodge 2 hours from the city. That's when the mask fully slipped. I'd just come back from a networking hike, sweaty and sunburned, and Ethan was already in my cabin, feet propped up like he owned the place. You should lock your doors, he said with that smug half-smile, sipping bourbon. I didn't drink that night, but I still felt drunk with fear. His words, his presence. The way he leaned in too close when he said, "You and I could build something a lot more powerful if you just stopped pretending we aren't aligned." I left the next morning, feigning a family emergency. I didn't report him. I didn't scream. I didn't even cry. I just returned to work like nothing had happened. That's how most women survive these things. Quietly calculating their exit strategy in silence, hoping no one sees the internal hemorrhage. But I confided in someone. Jade, a woman I'd mentored. I thought she'd understand. I told her what happened, in hushed tones in a corner booth at a Thai place 2 blocks from the office. Her eyes widened, and she swore she had my back. She didn't. Days later, I walked into the office and everything felt off. You know that feeling when everyone stops talking the second you walk in? Like you've walked into the final scene of a murder mystery, and somehow you're the corpse? My badge didn't work that morning. That should have been the first red flag. When I got to my desk, I found a small envelope with my name on it. HR, 9:00 a.m. It was 8:57. The room was freezing. Daman sat at the head of the conference table, flanked by HR, like he was the emperor of a collapsing empire pretending it was still a kingdom. His smile was the same. Warm, confident, rehearsed. The same smile he used to charm investors and steal ideas. "Nina," he said, as if we were about to discuss performance metrics. HR cleared her throat. "We've received multiple reports that you've been speaking negatively about senior leadership, spreading comments that are divisive, inappropriate, and, frankly, unprofessional." I blinked. "Excuse me?" Daman held up his hand. "I wanted to speak with you myself before this escalated, but Nina, this behavior doesn't reflect our company values." I froze. My brain tried to process it logically. This was a trap, a setup, a play. But emotionally, I felt gut-punched, betrayed. I told someone in confidence. "Nina," Daman interrupted, voice now laced with fake sympathy. You just don't fit into our culture anymore. There it was. The nail in the coffin, the polite execution. HR slid a folder across the table. Severance details, a pre-drafted NDA, and a quiet threat disguised as a mutual agreement. My voice trembled, not from fear, but rage. So you harass me, and when I don't play along, you destroy me. His eyes flickered, just for a second, and then back to the smile. This is a business decision, he said calmly. We wish you the best. I walked out of that office like I was walking, out of a burning building. The cold wind hit my face the second I stepped outside. It was crew symbolic, like the universe itself was slapping me back into reality. They thought they broke me. They had no idea. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't text my friends or update my resume. I sat on my apartment floor, back against the wall, staring at the same folder HR gave me. I could have signed it, taken the hush money, vanished. But then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Nina, this is Maya Voss. Call me back. I have a proposal you might want to hear. And congratulations. I hear you're finally free. I stared at the text like it had crawled out of a dream I'd forgotten I once had. Maya Voss. She wasn't just anyone. She was the founder and CEO of Stratagem, Nexura's biggest competitor. And the woman Daman had once drunkenly called a vulture in lipstick. I remembered that night too well. A company dinner. Daman, 2 martinis in. He laughed as he whispered to our table, Maya Voss is brilliant, sure. But she doesn't play nice. Women like her climb by leaving blood on the ladder. I didn't know then that I would one day want to be her. My fingers hovered over the phone. I could have ignored her. Could have waited. Healed. Licked my wounds quietly, like a good little girl. But I was tired of playing it safe. Tired of folding my fire into silence. I dialed. Nina? She answered on the first ring. Her voice was warm but sharp, like velvet stretched, over steel. I've been following your work, and I heard about what happened today. I just wanted to say, that man is trash. I let out a breath. You're not wrong. There was a pause. Then she said something that would change everything. I want to meet. Tomorrow. In person. I have a position that would make Ethan lose sleep. Interested? I met her at a private members' back club that overlooked the skyline. Everything about the place oozed quiet power. It wasn't flashy. It didn't need to be. Maya Voss didn't need to impress anyone. She was the storm and the eye of it. She stood when I walked in, extended her hand with a smile that didn't try to hide her teeth. You look like a woman reborn, she said. I feel like roadkill, I admitted. And that made her laugh. We sat, ordered black coffee and almond croissants neither of us touched. She cut straight to the point. I've been wanting to poach someone. From Nextura for months. Someone sharp, someone with access. But more importantly, someone who's motivated by more than just money. I narrowed my eyes. You want intel? I want a war, she said plainly. And I want you to help me win it. Thor. Confidence in her voice sent a thrill down my spine. She slid a sleek folder across the table. Director of Market Intelligence, full autonomy, a generous salary, and the resources to do more than just strategize. I want you to build, to disrupt, to dethrone. I opened the folder. My name was already printed on the draft contract. I looked up slowly. Why me? Because Daman Cross is arrogant. And you're the only person he underestimated badly enough to corner and still couldn't control. Something inside me lit up. Something I thought had died in that HR room. But I don't want revenge to be my only motive, I said carefully. Maya smirked. Then make it your fuel, and use it to build something Ethan could never touch. I didn't say yes immediately. I left the club and walked the long way home. I needed to think. To feel every crack in the sidewalk beneath my boots. To remember who I was before I let someone like Ethan make me feel small. I passed the Nextura office building, a sleek glass tower now tinged with the stench of betrayal. I stood across the street, watching the automatic doors open and close. Like a mouth, chewing up the next wave of disposable talent. They could keep their culture. I was done swallowing poison just because it came in a golden goblet. I called Maya the next morning. "I'm in," I said. But before I could step into this new chapter, I needed to do one last thing. No, not revenge. Not yet. Closure. I requested a copy of my personnel file through a lawyer friend. When it arrived, I sat cross-legged in my living room, reading the printout under the harsh yellow light of my kitchen bulb. Every performance review, glowing. Every project, above expectations. No disciplinary notes, nothing official to justify the firing, except for one file labeled Confidential Internal Complaint. It was from Jade. She'd reported that I was creating distrust, openly criticizing Ethan's leadership, and possibly attempting to sabotage projects. My chest tightened as I read her words. Sabotage. We had shared Thai takeout. We had laughed about the absurdity of working in tech. I had edited her resume when she was applying for promotions, and she had sold me out. At the very bottom of her statement, she'd written, "I care deeply about this company and believe any toxic influence should be removed before it spreads." That night, I didn't sleep. I made a list. Not of people to destroy, but of truths to uncover. Because here's the thing. I knew I wasn't the only one. Ethan didn't just harass. He played a long game. Recruiting favorites, isolating threats, building loyalty through manipulation and fear. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't overreacting. And I sure as hell wasn't done. 1 week later, I walked into Stratagem's HQ wearing confidence like armor. Maya greeted me at the elevator, holding a hot coffee and a file folder thicker than any NDA Ethan ever made me sign. "Welcome to the other side," she said. I stepped inside my new office. Corner view, sunlight pouring in, silence that didn't hum with tension, and took a deep breath. This was no longer survival. This was war, and I wasn't going to play fair. They say revenge is a dish best served cold, but I wasn't looking to serve it. I was engineering the kitchen, hiring the chefs, and personally curating the damn menu. At Stratagem, I didn't just get a new desk and a better paycheck. I got freedom, and something far more dangerous: access. Maya wasn't a micromanager. She gave me a mandate and trusted me to run with it. No one breathing down my neck, no petty politics. Just results. And God, I delivered. In 4 weeks, I dismantled 2 of Nextura's client retention strategies, replaced them with smarter, faster, more intuitive campaigns. The numbers spoke for themselves, but I wasn't here just to make Stratagem shine. That was a bonus. I was here to take everything Daman had tried to strip from me, and I knew exactly where to start. I stared at the name on my screen, Jade Reyes, the woman who called me a toxic influence. The woman who shared pad thai with me while stabbing me in the back. I should have hated her, but I didn't. Not entirely, because something about her report felt scripted, worded too perfectly, too carefully, like she'd been fed the lines. And I remembered the look in her eyes when I packed my things. She couldn't meet mine. That wasn't guiltless betrayal. That was fear, which made her useful. I sent a message from a dummy account. Just one line. "He did it to me too, and I have proof." It took 3 days. Then a reply. "Who are you?" I sent her a number. A burner phone rang at 2:17 a.m. "Nina," she whispered. "I didn't say yes. You don't understand," she said quickly. "It was him. Or me. He threatened to tank my promotion, said you were going to flip on the company. He told me what to write." "I know," I said. "I'm not calling to fight you." She paused. "Then what?" "I want to offer you a way out. I'm building something, and I need someone inside." "Inside?" "Inside Nextura." For now, she was silent, for a long moment. Then she said, "I want to talk, in person." We met at a dingy diner 2 towns over. She wore sunglasses and a baseball cap, like we were trading state secrets. In a way, we were. She slid into the booth, eyes scanning the room like someone might tail her back to headquarters. "Talk," she said. I pulled out a manila envelope. "This is what I have so far. 2 NDAs, 3 anonymous complaints, a timeline that matches mine." "He's got a pattern, Jade." She opened the file and scanned quickly. Her hand trembled, just slightly. "He did this to someone in sales," she said quietly. 2 years ago. And to a temp in marketing. No one talks. They all just leave. That's how he operates. Fear, silence, rotation. "And you're going to bring him down?" I met her eyes. "We are." Over the next month, Jade fed me breadcrumbs, internal emails, team memos, whispered warnings from HR. She kept her head down at work and her ears open, and I watched as the cracks in Nextura's glossy image began to show. Turns out, I wasn't the only one with an exit strategy. 3 key product developers were actively job hunting. 2 of Ethan's direct reports were quietly negotiating lateral transfers out of his department. Even the CFO had scheduled a suspicious number of doctor's appointments on days with board meetings. And then Jade sent me the gold mine, a spreadsheet buried deep in the HR server, labeled plainly as Retention Trends, Q3, Q4. Inside were departure summaries, redacted. Most vague, but a pattern. Screamed off the page, women in middle management roles were leaving at 3 times the company average, and almost all of them had once worked directly with Ethan. Maya nearly dropped her espresso when I handed it to her. "Jesus," she muttered. "You weren't exaggerating." "I want to go public," I said. "Expose him, not just as a bad boss, as a liability." Mayara's smile was slow and lethal. "Not yet. Let's take him apart the way he built his career, piece by piece. Step 1, undercut, his product launch." Nextjura had been working for months on a new AI-powered project management suite, something Ethan was staking his reputation on. Through Jade, I got the code name, the basic outline, even a hint of the flawed algorithm they were rushing to fix at Strategum. I led a coincidental project, similar features, cleaner UX, and backed by our best developers. We beat their launch date by 3 weeks. The tech blogs had a field day, Strategum outsmarts, next again. Industry leader scrambles as rival rolls out superior platform. Daman lost it, apparently threw a chair in a meeting, blamed interns, started calling daily alignment briefings no one wanted to attend. That was step 1. Step 2, crack the facade. I found the one journalist Ethan hated most, a woman named Lauren King. She'd once written a scathing expose on misogyny in corporate tech, and Nextjura PR had barely survived the fallout. I sent her an anonymous tip. A senior executive at Mixtura has a pattern of harassment, rejection, and intimidation. If you dig, you'll find more. Then I made sure she had a reason to dig. Leaked. Performance reports. Anonymous quotes from former employees. The spreadsheet. A breadcrumb trail built to make headlines. Lauren bit. And when she reached out to Stratagem for a statement, Maya gave her a bombshell. We've recently hired a former Nextjura manager who experienced and witnessed disturbing behavior firsthand. While we can't comment on internal investigations, we stand with all employees who speak out. She didn't name me. She didn't need to. By the time the article dropped, the wolves were already circling. Nextura's board launched a culture review. Ethan was pulled into a closed-door meeting for 6 hours. The stock price dipped. 3 more women contacted me through anonymous accounts. Maya quietly offered 2 of them jobs. Jade texted me. He knows something's coming. He's unraveling. I smiled at my screen. We weren't done. Not yet. But the cracks were turning into full-blown fractures, and I could already see the collapse coming. Not with a bang, but with a whisper. A quiet, calculated fall, one he'd never recover from. And when it happened, I'd be standing there, not just to watch, but to rise. The thing about men like Ethan, they never see the fall coming. Not because the signs aren't there, but because they believe they're untouchable. The board's culture review wasn't just a corporate slap on the wrist. It was a silent countdown, and he felt it. I could tell. Because he started to do something he never did. Panic. His first move? Damage control. Sloppy, desperate damage control. He had HR send out a reaffirmation of company values memo. You know the kind. Inclusive buzzwords, vague promises of safe spaces, and zero actual accountability. The same words he mocked behind closed doors. Then came the emails. One by one. Women from my era at Nextera started getting them. Hope. You're doing well. Would love to reconnect and hear how you're thriving. He even sent one to Maya. She forwarded it to me with one line. He's spinning. Then came the rumors. He was stepping away from active management. Taking a wellness sabbatical. Everyone knew what that meant. But the real hit came with the second article. Samantha Reed dropped it like a hammer. This time she wasn't. Vague. She had quotes, timelines, anonymous HR transcripts. One woman even agreed to go on record. Her name withheld, but her story unmistakably similar to mine. Suddenly, it wasn't just office gossip, it was public record. And then he called. Me, it was a block number, 8:42 p.m. My phone lit up while I was halfway through reheating leftover lasagna. For a moment, I just stared at it. I knew it was him. I knew it. My heart didn't race. It went still. Calm and dangerous, like the quiet before a storm. I pressed. Accept. Nina. His voice cracked like static. What the hell are you doing? I leaned against the counter and stared out the window. Funny, I said. I've been asking myself that question for a year. What was I doing? Letting you talk to me like that, touch me like that, threaten me, humiliate me. I didn't threaten you. You told me I didn't fit your culture after. I turned you down, then blackballed me. There was silence. Then, you're ruining me. No, Ethan, I'm revealing you. He laughed. That nervous, manic laugh people do when they realize they're bleeding and can't find the wound. Look, I know. Things got complicated, but you've made your point. It's over. Just stop, please. That word, please, coming from him, it almost felt satisfying. Almost. I'm not doing this out of spite, I said. I'm doing it so that the next woman you try to break doesn't have to do it alone. And I hung up. The final blow didn't come from me. It came from inside his castle. Jade messaged me just 2 days later. He's out, effective immediately. The board called it a mutual separation. He cleared out his office today. She sent a photo. Ethan's office, bare, lifeless. Just a box under his arm and security at his heels. I stared at it for a long time, then deleted it. Not because I didn't want proof, but because I didn't need it anymore. He was done. Not just fired, finished. Whispers said he tried to pitch a consulting gig to another firm. They ghosted him. After the articles made rounds on LinkedIn, investors started pulling out of Nexura projects with his name on them. One ex-employee even posted a thread that went viral. He told me I was too emotional for leadership. Now, I lead 2 departments without him. At Stratagem, I was no longer just the new hire. I was the woman who took down the giant. Maya promoted me. I became the head of strategic development. But more than that, I became free. Free from the self-doubt, from the nightmares, from the need to explain myself to anyone who said, maybe it wasn't that bad. I built something from the ashes he left behind. Something real. Jade eventually quit Nexura and joined our team. So did 2 others who used to fear his shadow. We weren't broken. We were architects of the future, sharper, stronger, and unshakable. And Ethan? He disappeared. Deleted his social media. Changed his number. Some say he moved to another city, trying to start fresh. But it doesn't matter. Not anymore. Because every empire he tries to build now, he'll build it knowing that someone like me exists. Someone watching. Waiting. Ready, the day he walked into his new office trying to play the part of the successful, untouchable CEO again. He was already living a lie. I'd done my homework. I knew where he'd go. I knew what he'd try to sell. I knew every angle of his care. He might have thought he was starting fresh, but his reputation, his mistakes, those don't just disappear. And when his biggest client, the one he'd been courting for months, thinking it would validate him, pulled out the deal at the last minute, I saw the cracks widen. I saw him sweat. He called again, blocked number. 9:15 p.m. I didn't hesitate this time. I picked up immediately. No need to drag it out. Nina, what the hell is going on? His voice was frantic now. No charm, no control. You didn't get the memo? I asked, my voice cool, calm. It was almost like speaking to a stranger. The sting of his harassment was gone. All that was left was the satisfaction of watching him squirm. Your empire's crumbling, Ethan, and no one's coming to save you. You have no idea what you're doing. I'll ruin you. I cut him off. He tried to ruin me once. And look where we are now. There was a long pause, one that felt too heavy with desperation. I've been trying to fix this. I didn't know what I was doing, Nina, I swear. But I didn't want his apologies. He had never once apologized when it mattered. No, I said, my voice unyielding. I'm done with your lies. I'm done letting you control the narrative. You'll always be the man who tried to break me, and now you'll be the man who failed. I hung up, knowing that would be the last time he tried to contact me. Damon's fall wasn't immediate. It wasn't as dramatic as the movies, with one catastrophic event leading to his collapse. It was slow, deliberate. A series of small, painful losses that chipped away at everything he'd built, until there was nothing left but the hollow shell of a man who thought he was untouchable. The social media posts started flooding in. They weren't from me, but they carried my signature in their wake. But the best part, the sweetest part, when I heard the board at his new company had voted to terminate his contract effective immediately, I didn't feel the need to celebrate. There was no need for fireworks or cheers because the truth was already out there, and it was already too late for him to hide. I didn't need to gloat. The world had already spoken for me, and as I sat back and watched everything fall into place, I realized something important. I wasn't just free. I had power. The kind that comes from surviving, from rising above the worst a man like Ethan could throw at you. The kind that doesn't need to be loud, doesn't need to scream for attention, because it was undeniable. He tried to destroy me, and in the end, I destroyed him. It wasn't just about revenge. It was about control. It was about reclaiming. The strength he tried to take from me,